Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Daron Malakian and Scars on Broadway, Addicted to the Violence, out July 18th on Scared for Life. This album has 10 tracks, 37 minutes in length, and it's the band's third full-length studio record. They are an American rock metal band. Now, if you're familiar with Daron's work both on Scars on Broadway and System of a Down, you could expect the album to follow no pattern whatsoever. You could expect the album design to be slightly chaotic, and that's okay because the overall versatility that the album shows from a sonic perspective allows it to be chaotic but still enjoyable at the exact same time. And I think one of the main reasons for that is understanding that versatility, understanding that chaos that exists within the record experience, and trying to minimize it. The best way to minimize it is to keep the record short. 10 songs, 37 minutes is absolutely perfect for a record like this. You're able to navigate through this roller coaster ride a lot better. You're able to enjoy it a lot more. And when you get to the end of the record, you're ready to go back again to the beginning because you feel like you just didn't get enough. The album doesn't become cumbersome. The album doesn't overstay its welcome. It has the right length for the right style, for the right sound. And when you have that sort of those sort of elements all working together as one, you're going to have a great record design and a great record structure all around. Once you get into the sound of this album, once again you have that versatility and that diversity coming into the forefront. Don't expect to hear two songs that sound exactly the same. The album offers a lot of different perspectives, offers a lot of different textures, brings in a lot of different elements on a song-by-song basis to give each and every single song its own DNA, its own fingerprint, its own look, its own vibe, its own feel. And the record is really built like that throughout. It's an album that doesn't follow patterns, that doesn't develop patterns, and that always makes the listener feel a little bit more on the edge of the seat because you're just not quite sure where the next song is going to take you. Now, having said all of that, there is some consistency on this album, at least in terms of a main focal point of where everything starts off, and in my humble opinion is the guitar sound. This is a very heavy guitar focus album, and when I mean by heavy guitar focus album, I mean there's a lot of focus on the guitar sound, the different textures that come from it, and the impact that it has in the songs. Some tracks are heavy, so there is a sense of heaviness to those songs, but not every song on this album is heavy, but all of them have a heavy guitar sound and a heavy guitar presence to them. So that is a little bit of the glue that holds all of this together. It's not enough to minimize the diversity of the record, not enough to minimize the versatility of the record, but it's enough to hold it all together in a way that the album still feels like an album experience, even though every single song really changes the perspective of what that album experience is. It has great production, allows the guitars to take center stage, allows the guitars to have a different touch on every single song. It allows the guitars to have a predominant sound that has a clear impact and defining impact on these songs throughout, and allows them to really be in the forefront. I always felt, listening to this record, didn't matter if it was the first time or the 10th time, that the guitar sound was a little bit separated from everything else, and it allows almost three key components to exist within the overall experience of the album, but exist in their own lane, and that it's the guitars, the vocals, and everything else. Everything else that this album has to offer is pretty much intertwined, weaved, if you will, as a very clear tapestry that allows it to become the canvas in which the record then is painted on. And then as far as the paint is concerned, you have the guitar sound really being the paint, really being the paint strokes that defines the experience, defines what the images are from song to song. And then you have the vocals, and the vocals are the brushes that really allow those paint strokes to come to life, that allow that image to become a lot more vivid through the lyrics, obviously, but also through the vocal performance as well. A vocal performance that I thought was very calm at times, very warm, very cool, but also very emotional. It's a very interesting approach that doesn't have necessarily a one-size-fits-all. It has more of what fits the mood of the song, what fits the vibe of the song, what fits the sound of the song, and then emphasizing the aspects of Daron's vocal prowess in terms of fixing into those elements and allowing those songs to flourish, to kind of come to life with his help. And I thought that was such an interesting aspect of this album, because it is his voice throughout the entire record, and you could hear his voice throughout the entire record, but you could also hear different nuances depending on the song, depending on the mood, depending on the texture that track has. And I thought that was very key, very fundamental, to allow that versatility and diversity to not just exist in the sound, to not just exist in the structure, but to a certain degree to also exist in the way the vocals interact with everything else, making it a very well-rounded album. I had so much fun listening to this record. I love the lyrical content on the album. Not perhaps as philosophical as the lyrical content of System of a Down, but there's still something to be left to interpretation throughout this record. But a lot of the lyrics just really mean what they mean, and that makes them more jarring, it makes them more impactful, and it makes the songs give you a much bigger jolt from that perspective. I really enjoyed this record. I think it's a phenomenal album, top to bottom, when you analyze all the different criterias. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Done Me Wrong. This track has a heavy guitar driven sound to it, and then the vocals, specifically in the verses, the vocals come in almost like a stone that's skipping water, taking steps into the sound, which I thought was really cool, because it makes the verses feel a little bit more groovy. It also creates a pattern that we've seen before, specifically in System of a Down albums. We see this sort of musical vocal pattern quite frequently, and it comes in here not as noticeable, not as much in the forefront, not copied, but using it as an inspiration, if you will, and then having it its own twist. That's how I see the interaction between the vocal style and the sound, like I said, more specifically in the verses. Once you get into the chorus sonically is still very heavy. I would say almost as heavy, at least the backdrop is as heavy as the verses are. But the keys, the keyboards on this track are really fundamental to create two different perspectives, to create melody, to open up the song, to allow the song to breathe a little bit more. And you notice them in the chorus, and then you notice them how they bleed from the chorus into the track. And the other aspect that it's really important for the keyboards on this track is a little bit of a sense of darkness. This song definitely has a dark underbelly to it. It doesn't become visible, it doesn't become noticeable until you get to that chorus and those keyboards hit. Then that melody not only opens up the song, but invites that darkness in, and that becomes noticeable. And then it's really hard to detach yourself from it going forward. It's a super fun song, really well structured, really well designed, with a phenomenal chorus. Then we have Destroy the Power. I like the bass on this track, pops quite a bit, specifically at the opening, but it pops throughout as well, and that helps define a little bit more of a unique soundscape for this song. The guitars are heavy and thick, and then you have some synth sounds that come across almost like Flock of Seagulls. And the song I Ran, it has a little bit of those sparkles coming in, which adds this nice, really cool texture to the song. The verses are more compact and driven, definitely a little bit more narrow, almost feeling at times like a marching song when it comes to those verses. And then the chorus is super open, a lot more richer, with some folkiness to the sound itself, which makes it even more richer. And it's a super memorable chorus that, like I said, opens up the track, and it has a sense of simplicity to it, not necessarily in the sound, but how the sound impacts the listener, and definitely how the vocals and the lyrics come across in this chorus. Definitely a memorable chorus, one of many memorable choruses on this album. Last but not least, Imposter. This is almost, I'm going to go as far as to say this is a ska track. Perhaps a little bit more noticeable as far as those ska influences are concerned in the chorus. The chorus is totally a ska song, both musically and vocally. The way the two interact with one another, you feel like you're listening to 311. It has a little bit of that in this song. And then the heavier, more consistent verses also plays into that ska sound and into that 311 inspiration or influence that this track has. And I thought it worked really well. A really unique song from that perspective because it brings a different vibe, it brings a different mood, still using the guitar as one of the main ingredients of the track itself, but offering it in a different perspective with a different influence, with a different backdrop, making the song completely dissonance from everything that is happening in the rest of the album. A heavy ska influence track that works really well. This is it, Daron Malakian with Scars on Broadway with a new record, Addicted to the Violence, once again out July 18th on Scared for Life. Let me know your thoughts on the singles, hit me up in the comment section. I'm dying to hear what you guys have to say. I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.